Shalom, everyone, to Living with the Times. This week's Torah portion is Pikudei, and it begins, Ele Pikudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdut. Pikudei means accounting. These are the accountings of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle of testimony. So everyone asks, the word Mishkan is doubled. It could say, these are the accountings of the Mishkan of testimony. But instead it says, these are the accountings of the tabernacle of accountings. So why the double language? So Rashi says this alludes to the fact of the two temples that were built in Jerusalem and, of course, were destroyed. First by the Babylonians, the first temple, and the second temple by the Romans. And the Mishkan, the tabernacle that is described in the Torah, becomes the model, the prototype of the temple in Jerusalem. So Rashi says the fact that the word Mishkan is doubled, Ela Pikudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdut, is hinting that in the future there would be these two temples. Now there's a great hint here because the numerical value, the gematria of the word Mishkan, tabernacle, equals 410. And the first temple, Solomon's temple, lasted for exactly 410 years. The second temple lasted for 420 years. So here we see a further hint to the two mentions of Mishkan connected to the two temples. But there's even a deeper meaning here, because there is a tradition that the temple in Jerusalem was constructed in a straight line, we can imagine such a thing, to what's called the heavenly Jerusalem. That the earthly Jerusalem is a mirror image of the heavenly Jerusalem. And just like there is a temple below, there is a temple above. And this concept of a Yerushalayim Shel Mala and Yerushalayim Shel Mata, and a heavenly Jerusalem and an earthly Jerusalem, is part of it, even a bigger concept that everything in this world is connected to, is influenced by, and in certain sense is a mirror image of the upper worlds, the spiritual worlds. And of course, God's providence is emanating, as it were, from the upper worlds. And of course, it affects the lower worlds. And God uses the angelic realms as his messengers, and also even the planets and the astrological makeup of the universe as affecting what happens in this world. But an even deeper concept, even a more revolutionary concept, is that not only is this lower world affected by forces in the higher worlds, but that our actions, our thoughts, our speech in this world affects the upper worlds. This, of course, is the secret of prayer, and it's the secret of free will, and it becomes a two-way street, that we are affected by divine forces that are beyond the physical, but also that we in this physical material world through our thought, speech, and action can affect the destiny of what happens to us individually, communally, and universally. So this is all hinted to in Mishkan, in the two mentionings of the Mishkan. We had two temples in Jerusalem, and of course, according to tradition, when the Mashiach comes, there will be a third temple. And there are two versions of how this third temple will manifest in this world. One version is that we will build it, just like we built the first temple and the second temple. But when we're talking about the Messianic era, we're talking about a whole change of consciousness, a whole change in the makeup of the world, the fabric of the universe. And there are different opinions as to whether nature will change, how much nature will change, how much human consciousness will change. But the two opinions, one is that it will happen in a natural way. The Messianic era will happen in a natural way, and therefore we will be building the temple. The other version is if we merit it, then the coming of Mashiach and the coming of the Messianic era will be far more miraculous. And the changes that will occur in human consciousness and nature will happen much quicker than if it only comes in its time. And so this idea is reflected in how the temple will be built. One idea is it will come naturally, we will build it. The other is that it will come from heaven and it will descend into this world. So the typical question is, well, which one is right? Is the temple going to miraculously descend into this world? Or are we going to build it from below? So a third opinion, which is so typically Jewish and Talmudic reasoning, is there's no disagreement here. We will build it from below, but it will be infused with godly energy from above. And this is actually the way we look at the future, is the Messianic era will be a combination of spiritual and physical and a unity till ultimately we will not be able to really differentiate between physical and spiritual. They will be fused into one reality. And so this is very much the energy of the month of Adar, where we have the way to read Adar by its two syllables, Adar. The Aleph, Dar. Dar means to dwell. And this is a manifestation of the midrash that says, "V'hita ve'akadosh baruch hu liyot lo dira b'tachtonim." God wanted to have a dira, dar, in the lower worlds. And so this tells us much about the holiday of Purim. Holiday of Purim is very, very physical. Eating and feasting and drinking and giving gifts and dressing up. It's very physical. And yet we're told the joy of Purim is like the highest joy, because it is enclothing the greatest spirituality. It's enclothing the Aleph, the infinite light and energy of God. And so here we pray all the time for the third temple. And the third temple is connected, as I said before, to the Messianic era. And we're actually told that after the Mashiach comes, the only holiday we'll celebrate is Purim. Now, there's much discussion what that means, but for our purposes now, it means that Purim represents the future. A future where physical and spiritual are melded together. The temple, the third temple, will be a physical temple in Jerusalem, but it will be so infused with God's light and energy that it will be a fusion of physical and spiritual. May we live to see that time.